Ready, Devin?
Yeah, I'm
All right,
going
let's go.
right.
Dude, I'm going right.
God, Justin. Justin. Okay. Okay. I'm right. So.
I have to pick these and heal these guys.
Oh, yeah. Dang it. I also have to do that. All right. So the recorder is going, Justin.
Oh, perfect. Hello,
Let's
everybody.
let's start by introducing ourselves. My name is Devin. I'm playing on the PKing Bronze Tier account.
Yeah, my name is Justin. I am playing on the hardcore that I call a time-locked account.
All right. So let's see here. What should we start with?
How we came up with the idea of 2 tiers. I hope this makes everybody realize that we're not. I mean, we're kind of just winging it, but we're also
Oh,
kind of planning a little bit.
dude, I
But we're
wing
mostly
everything I
just.
do in life.
We know. We've seen. I know.
Yeah,
People will know.
they will see when this series launches and they watch these videos. Like, this guy, he's all over the place. He has no idea.
As we were hanging out, we were trying to figure out what would be a good name for this idea of a channel that we had. And really, we came up with this idea of 2 tiers because as we were thinking about it, well, first of all, both of our accounts are kind of opposite, but they're opposite in a way that made me think about playing RuneScape and how typically when people play RuneScape, they fall into one of two categories or tiers of players. There's either the PvP based accounts or there's the PVM based accounts.
Oh yeah, this it's absolutely fair to say that there are PKers and there are PVMers. And then if you wanted to introduce a third, I would say skillers. But so yeah, that's pretty much how we came about the name 2 tiers, and hopefully that's also going to serve as a quick like overview of the channel, of what you're going to see on it at least. Just two different styles of accounts, two different mindsets, two different goals, plans, and adventures.
Yeah, and I think for me, like this in my mind, I not in reality because I think there are YouTubers that do some of both. I can think of a few off the top of my head, but this would be the first account series where you can really find both on separate accounts. So you can kind of see two different people who enjoy the game for two different reasons.
Yeah.
Um,
You kind
yeah,
of
so I
kind
think
of
it's
imagine
unique
it
in
as
that
like a
way.
TV channel, like a Comedy Central, like 8 p.m. is South Park, and then 9 p.m. is Futurama. That was a good
Yeah,
analogy, I
that
promise.
was a rough analogy.
No, it was good. It was spot on.
Okay, so the point is that you can find both types of uh, RuneScape video on one channel, and I think that's what's exciting.
All right, so um,
Go
my
for it.
my account started when I had a late game Iron Man. Well, I mean, it was an Iron Man that was in the late game, rather. The same thing, potato. Anyway, I had this Iron Man, and I enjoyed it a lot for a long time. I think, oh, Justin, we started our Iron Man together 2 years ago.
Probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was really fun until I hit the late game and I started to struggle. I'm weak. You guys can call me weak. It's fine. I accept it. I know that I gave up. I think the big one that broke me was like 8,000 kills at Shamans for a Dragon Warhammer. It was definitely the big one that broke me. And I just hit like a point where I burnt out and I just didn't touch RuneScape for a while.
Yeah. So I remember that Devin was really frustrated, and I had gotten my Dragon Warhammer on my main at like about 2100 KC. Our other friend got his about 1600 KC,
Our other
and
friend Kutu, by the way, shout out to Kutu. You will probably hear us talk about him a lot. He is a really good friend of ours in real life as well. We're really part of a trio, but he is not participating in the YouTube series yet. We hope that we can convince him,
yeah,
but we're not there
drop a
yet.
like. Drop a like. Is that
Yeah,
how you do that?
yeah.
I think that's how you get people to do it. You just drop a like, and then they do
drop,
it. So
drop a like if you want Kutu to join the channel. But go ahead, Justin. You got yours at 2100.
yeah, I got mine at 2100. Devin started complaining about not having any more prayer pots, and then he just kind of like stopped for a while. And when he got back on his account, we were looking at it, and he had like 350 prayer pots still
That's
in his
these
bank.
these aren't important details. These.
So he really like it had nothing to do with the supplies of shaman. It was just he didn't care enough to do it anymore. And so he made up an excuse to quit.
Well, that felt like an attack. Jeez
That was a little
Louise.
bit more harsh than I meant it to be,
Jeez
but
Louise. I thought we were
that's fine.
friends over here, man. Whatever. Justin's hardcore died at Dust
Right.
Devils.
That's true.
Not this hardcore. Not this hardcore.
Yeah. This one is still hardcore.
Yeah, take that.
My
Anyway.
my first hardcore.
So yeah, anyway, I got pretty fed up with the late game grinds to the point where like I just wasn't enjoying it. And at the end of the day, I feel like it's a game that just like any other game you should play for enjoyment, and I wasn't. So, I wanted to take a break from the Iron Man, and I created this account. And I don't really want to show the stats because I feel like it's maybe slightly a spoiler. I don't know. So I'll try to avoid that. But we created this account, and the whole goal was to see if I was any good at PKing. Because I've always enjoyed PKing content. Like I watch Torvesta, I watch Framed, Bodhi when he PKs is always fun to watch. Parking Meter, Mint Mad Cow, like I enjoy them all. And I just wanted to get in the arena and see if I was any good at it. And I felt like I was taking a break from the Iron Man, and I had a window. So that's how I started with the account. And recording just kind of became a thing that we just talked about and decided we were going to do together with no real expectations, but certainly high hopes to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. As it goes for that, like both Devin and I have full-time jobs and we work
Yes.
pretty much. I work every weekday, 8 to 5 with an hour
Yes.
drive both ways. It's lots of fun.
We are both absolutely putting in our 40 hours a week plus some.
So you're starting PKing. How much PKing experience do you have?
I have, aside from like Castle Wars, if you count that as player versus player, I have 0 PvP experience before this account. I've done Wilderness Slayer and been teleblocked and kind of fought back a little bit. But
died a couple of times, that
yeah,
sort of thing.
I don't think I've ever really gotten a kill in the Wilderness.
So what has the journey of the account been like? How does that journey happen through the account? How are you learning how to PK?
So basically what we have is we started with a fresh account, obviously. Before I had the Iron Man, I had a regular main account, that had access to trading and Grand Exchange, and things like that. And then when I picked up the Iron Man, that account just kind of became dead to me. And what I decided to do was, so I liquidated the bank from that account, switched it over to this one, so I had starting money. And then the kind of loose structured idea I had in my head, because planning is not one of my strong points, was that I knew I inevitably wanted to be a Zerker, because the whole goal is to do PvP, and Zerkers are obviously very well built accounts and structured for PvP. But at the same time, the Zerker granted pretty much access to every other piece of PVM content. And I do enjoy PVM. And the Zerker felt like kind of the perfect compromise of being able to PVM and being able to PK.
So yeah, you have multiple stages. You're gonna walk through each of them, run through some of them.
I will say, while I didn't really have a plan for how long I would spend on each build, slight spoiler alert, I did kind of fly through them faster than I anticipated. And there will certainly be PVM involved in my series because I do enjoy PVM. But ultimately, by the time I finish the build, I imagine there's going to be a lot more PKing than anything else. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just occasional PKing. Or maybe I'm really good at it and I just high risk all day.
We'll see. I'm not sold on that one yet.
You don't think I'd be good at it, man? You don't think I have what it takes?
I feel like the
you're
fun
being,
of our
you're being
video...
hurtful today.
Devin, this is every day we play RuneScape. I'm not a terrible person, I promise.
Let's switch gears and let's talk about you for a little bit.
Yeah, so the story behind my series kind of stems from the previous hardcore account that I had that is now my main Iron. Devin already spoiled it, but that hardcore did die. I remember correctly, it was around 1550 total level. So I was pretty well progressed in the mid tier, mid game Iron Man where I was.
Yeah, you were
Um,
getting up there.
what really bothered me during my hardcore days was the amount of times that I would play, and at some point during my gameplay, a YouTuber on their hardcore account would die, start a new hardcore account the next day, and then within about a week and a half had passed me from where I was. In my anger for what felt like I was not doing well at the game, I had to come to terms with the fact that I could not ever play while working a full-time job the amount of time that an average YouTuber plays. So that's kind of where it started. Um, with that being said, uh, what I decided to do was what I think is relatable to most people, and that's determine how to use the time I have wisely. And so that sort of brought me to this idea of having a time locked hardcore, as you can tell by the name of the account, which is time locked hardcore. It's time locked in the sense that, like, I'm only allowing myself to have an hour each day. So my thought process was is that I think a lot of people, most people don't get to play the amount of RuneScape that the streamers, the YouTubers, all of these people get to play. I think the people that are very interested in the game don't play the amount they want to play. So all of that to say, this account is one where I'm going to limit myself in my gameplay to only 1 hour a day. Now, I do want to clarify that this is not that I only play RuneScape 1 hour a day, because I still play on my main iron. Still have a lot of things I'm trying to work on there. But for the purposes of this account, I want to show how an account would progress if you only played an hour a day, but then tried to be intentional about how you use that hour. I think that there's sort of like a picking and choosing that occurs when you're time limited. And so trying to find maybe creative ways to think about how to maximize what you do and how to vary your game content from week to week, hour to hour.
We are people to learn from if your goal is to be average.
Yeah.
Does that sound
Well,
does that work?
that sounds terrible, but I think you're right to some degree. I think that's a pretty good underlining of what the accounts are, kind of where they're headed. If any commenters out there want to help me create a list, I tried to create a list of quests that I could do with 10 HP. I have a quest list currently that I plan on working on as ways to mitigate sort of the hours of Wintertodt that I think I want to do. So if you guys have ideas for what quests are doable and useful for a 10 HP hardcore Iron Man account that are relatively safe, I would love to hear them. We're open to suggestions. I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah.
I can't say that's true for Devin, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely open for, like, if you guys want to make suggestions about what I should be doing. So Devin, my question for you is, when did you first start playing RuneScape?
I first started playing RuneScape. I am 26 years old now. I turned 27 this year. In what is January? 6 months still. I started playing RuneScape when I was about 12 years old. Was when I played for the first time. My friend Parker Simpson.
14 years sounds like a ton of time.
Yeah, dude, I don't like that you're making me put this into perspective. But to be fair, there were big breaks in the middle when we all took our big break for that RS3 jump. What was it called? The Evolution of Combat, the EOC. So So I started playing when I was probably about 12 or 13 years old. I think 12, maybe 13. I don't know. My good friend Parker Simpson, still friends to this day. I actually just went out and had lunch with him the other day. But he got me into the game, and then he immediately moved on to other games and never came back to it. So from the ages of like 12 to maybe 14 or 15, I was kind of just playing it by myself. And I met you in middle school. through a
Yep.
friend who, our friend Jesse, who just it was so random. I remember we were sitting in our science class, and he just looked over at me, and he was like, "You ever play RuneScape?" And I was like, "Dude, I love RuneScape," and it was an immediate bond. Yeah, because when you're in school, you're young, you care about what everyone thinks about you, so you don't like something as RuneScape would not be viewed as cool and popular. So you just wouldn't talk about it. You're playing it in secret. No one knows. Um, and Jesse was just so blunt. He just turned around. He's like, "You play RuneScape?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love it." And I wasn't a member at the time. I was still only free to play, and Jesse had membership. So I feel like he rotated me and you for a long time. Where like maybe I was busy this weekend, so I couldn't go over to his house and play. So he invited Justin over, and
Whoa! How did I become the second option there?
I,
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, he invited you, but you weren't there, so then
it doesn't
the
matter, dude.
second.
I
Yeah,
was you were the second option because I was the one who was more likely to do all of his work for him.
that's not true. That's all I
so
did.
so Jesse had a membership on his account, and we didn't, and we ended up just going to his house and grinding all of his levels for him. And we did that we probably danced that dance for about a year before you and I actually even met, I think.
But like we had met, but we weren't friends. Like
Yeah.
we went to the same middle school, we knew each other, but we weren't like we didn't talk.
You
Couldn't
weren't
even
on you
tell
weren't
us
on
who
my
we were.
friend list.
No, I didn't make the MySpace top 8 back then.
Yeah, yeah.
If we have young viewers, they're not gonna understand that at all.
um Long story short, I've been playing RuneScape for 14-ish years, and I've been playing RuneScape with Justin for 9 to 10 years. Sounds fair.
Oh, longer than that. I
Longer than that?
graduated. I graduated in 2011
Oh,
from high school.
jeez. Jeez,
So
jeez, jeez.
try like 12 or 13. Here we are. We're still doing it. um,
Our third friend, Kutu, we met him probably about maybe a year after we started playing together.
yep.
And the three of us,
It was very we used one of those methods we had talked about. I just took that hit for fun. Um, we used one of the methods we had talked about where we actually coughed and in the middle of our cough said bandos just to see if he would turn his
to see who would bite.
yeah. It was a bait. So we were like bandos and I hope that was not terribly annoying for any viewers, but that was our brilliant method of figuring out who played and who we could talk to about RuneScape and who we could go do things with. Like that was back when we were like starting God Wars Dungeon.
Yeah, God Wars Dungeon just came out, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it was fresh. It was popular. It was all anyone was doing. Justin, how
Yeah,
did you
so
first start playing RuneScape?
um so similar to Devin's story, I was influenced by my friend Jesse. Except I guess influence probably isn't the correct word because it was more like used by my friend Jesse, um, who really like I, we didn't bot, we were the bot for him.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the best way to describe it. Like we would come to his house, stay the night, like we were cool, really cool middle school kids.
So
And
excited to fish in Catherby because our only other option ever had
oh
been Karamja.
yeah, yeah.
You got a lobsters with a bank right here? What?
That's it's funny because in my mind, what I remember most vividly about it was killing moss giants with like a rune scimitar, just like hoping to get a Raynar seed. Oh yeah, we were definitely bots for Jesse, um, and it was hours of just grinding moss giants because he wanted a whip so bad, and it was the only way that I could play on a membership account, and so And it was back in the day when you only had like one computer per household. Yeah, so I remember grinding to 70 attack at Moss Giants because there's only one computer, so we couldn't both play.
Right.
And his account was better, so we wanted to play on his account, but he didn't
Laptops.
want.
You were big balling if you had a laptop and you could just bring it over.
Oh yeah. That was not a thing till way later. It was
Yeah.
like a couple of years later. Um, and yeah, and then he would just go to sleep and leave me there, and I would sit there till like 3 in the morning just attacking these Moss Giants, thinking it was the coolest thing that had ever happened. I was like, oh man, watch me kill these Moss Giants. But he only let me do it because he was like, this is the safest thing. So it was like he just didn't trust me to
Yeah.
play well, so he didn't want me to do anything
Well,
actually dangerous.
and that was back in the day where if you died, you lost your stuff. There was pretty much no getting it back.
Yeah,
Like 60
that's true.
seconds, it spawned for everybody.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that was back when deaths mattered.
yeah. So yeah, that was probably my seventh grade year. I played almost through high school. We probably stopped playing right before the end of high school, like maybe after high school. We played a little bit after high school, so like 2011, 2012. Of course, Devin and I, during that time, Devin Kutu and I really, I mean, it was like weekends of just like drink as much coffee as you can. We all got computers at that point, and so we would just stay at somebody's house like the entire weekend and just grind. Back when killing killing the monkey guards in Ape Atoll
Was
with
best
DH.
experience per hour? Yeah, I remember those
Yeah.
days.
Can't count the number of times I died because I got stuck on a gorilla or didn't notice my prayer run out or just so many different getting like 70k an hour because the DHX is so slow. Like, oh, it was so much fun. And like affording DH was a big deal back then. So
Yeah, because
that
Barrow's armors were the best armors in the game back then.
yeah, outside of I guess if God Wars had just come out, God Wars armor.
Well,
But
it wasn't for a couple years after we started playing. I don't think God Wars came out. Timelines are a little fuzzy, but God Wars were definitely not out when we first started playing together.
yeah. Um so yeah, I think RuneScape really it's interesting because Devin and I were talking about like the popularity of old school RuneScape and sort of where the game trajectory is going. And I remember back in the day when I guess if I was in seventh grade, I would have been like 12 when I started playing. And I don't know that RuneScape currently has a lot of like it's interesting to think about how young we were when we started and to think about whether younger audiences are starting this game nowadays. It sort of feels like it's just one of those games that relies on the nostalgia, but for
Yeah,
whatever reason back then it was the thing to do. I mean, I guess the problem is the competition, right? Like I don't know, but this isn't a podcast, so I guess we shouldn't probably go too far into that.
All right, guys. Well, we've spent much longer kind of rambling here than I thought we would have. But anyway, thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest. And I hope that you guys like the content that we can supply.